How does a kid who started out like this end up doing something like this?
That is wrath.
Today, we're recapping Season 1 of Netflix's live-action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The world of Avatar is divided into 4 nations: the Fire Nation, the Water Tribe, the Earth Kingdom, and the Air Nomads. Each of these nations have people called Benders, who can control their nation's element. And the only person who can bend all 4 is the Avatar, the one meant to keep balance across this world. The bad news is that the Avatar hasn't been seen in a century, and the Fire Nation's ruthless leader, Fire Lord Sozin, uses that window to launch a war on the other nations. Sozin begins his evil plan by wiping out the Air Nomads to eliminate the one person who could possibly stop him. Season 2 drops June 25th of 2026, so let's make sure you get all caught up. The first episode kicks off in the Fire Nation's capital city, where a spy is sprinting through the streets clutching stolen war plans. He's an earthbender working undercover, and the Fire Nation soldiers are hot on his heels. He manages to pass the plans to a fellow Earth Kingdom soldier before getting caught, warning him to get those plans to the Earth King because the Fire Nation is about to start a war. That's when the spy gets dragged before Fire Lord Sozin, the stone-cold ruler of the Fire Nation. Sozin reveals the whole chase was a trap. He wanted those plans to reach the Earth King so the other nations would rally their forces to defend the Earthbenders, leaving the Air Nomads completely unguarded. With everybody looking the wrong way, Sozin plans to wipe out the Air Nomads entirely because somewhere amongst them is the Avatar, and Sozin wants the person dead before the world knows they exist. He then kills the spy without blinking. Yeah, this guy is a problem. Meanwhile, over at the Southern Air Temple, a young monk named AANG is causing the usual chaos. AANG is 12 years old and a flat-out prodigy, the youngest airbender in history to earn his master's tattoos, the blue arrow markings running across his head and hands. His mentor, a warm older monk named Gyatso, covers for him with the council, but pulls him aside to drop some life-changing news. AANG is the Avatar. He's the one person who's supposed to learn all 4 elements and protect the world. AANG doesn't take it very well. He's 12. He doesn't want to save the world. He just wants to hang out with his friends and be a normal kid. That night, he can't sleep, so he goes and talks to his pet, and his pet just so happens to be a giant flying sky bison named Appa. AANG tells Appa he's scared, he's not ready, and he just needs to clear his head. So the two of them take off into the night sky. Pets really do fix everything. Back at the temple, Sozin's army has already arrived. The airbenders put up a fight, but Sozin's comet, passing overhead that night, supercharges every firebender on the battlefield, and the airbenders don't stand a chance. Sheesh. It's a good thing that this comet only appears once every 100 years. Anyway, Gyatso holds off soldier after soldier, trying to protect the group of children, but Sozin himself shows up, and that's where Gyatso's stories end. Every airbender at the temple is killed. All of this is happening at the same time AANG and Appa are out over the ocean, where a storm is rolled in fast. Before they can turn in back, a massive wave slams them in and drags them under. Right as Aang's about to drown, his markings glow bright blue, and without realizing it, he wraps himself and Appa inside a giant ice ball and goes unconscious, and that's where they stay. 100 years pass and we land at Wolf Cove, a small village in the Southern Water Tribe, a freezing cold settlement near the Southern Ocean. The place is run by a 16-year-old named Sokka, who had to grow up way too fast after the most of the adults left to fight the war 3 years ago and never came back. His younger sister is Katara, and she's got a secret. She can bend water. Sokka is constantly on her case about practicing in the open because if the Fire Nation finds out that there's a bender here, they'll come looking. The two head out on a fishing trip when the water starts moving on its own. Their canoe shoots forward and slams into a massive iceberg sitting offshore. It's dome-shaped and glowing faintly, nothing like a normal iceberg. Katara uses her waterbending to try and free the canoe, and the second she does, the dome cracks open. A beam of blue light blasts straight up into the sky, and a kid comes tumbling out face first onto the ice. Still glowing, but later passes out cold. That beam of light gets spotted by someone nearby, Prince Zuko, the 16-year-old firstborn son of the current Fire Lord, and he's been out at sea for years searching for the Avatar. He was banished by his own father and told he can't come home until he finds the Avatar and brings him back. His uncle and travel companion, a calm older man named Iroh, keeps him grounded. When Zuko sees that light shoot up, he orders his ship towards the nearest village immediately. Back at Wolf Cove, Aang wakes up completely confused but snaps out of it fast. His first thought is Appa. He flies up into the air to call for his sky bison, which absolutely stuns everyone watching below since airbenders don't exist anymore. Appa shows up, but then Katara and Sokka's grandmother, Gran, gently sits Aang down and tells him the truth. He's been frozen for over 100 years. The air nomads are gone, Gyatso is gone, and Aang is the last airbender alive. Imagine waking up from what felt like a one-night nap and finding out everyone you've ever loved has been dead for a century. Aang is wrecked. Katara goes to check on him and opens up about her own loss, how the Fire Nation attacked 3 years ago and most of the adults, including her father, left to fight and never came back. She tells him the Water Tribe and Earth Kingdom are still holding on. Hope isn't completely gone. She also mentions that she can bend water but can't control it properly. Aang shows her a small technique. She tries it and it actually works. A tiny win in an absolutely terrible day. That's when Zuko's ship rolls in. Sokka goes out to face him, and Zuko makes it simple. Hand over whoever doesn't belong here. Sokka almost caves, but Katara talks him out of it. Sokka then challenges Zuko to a one-on-one combat. Pretty brave, but bravery can only take him so far. Zuko wins easily and is about to make it worse when Aang steps forward, holds Zuko's entire squad back, and the villagers rally together. But then Zuko threatens to burn the whole village to the ground. Aang turns to Sokka, tells him nobody's ever stuck up for him like that before, then surrenders himself. Zuko takes him aboard and they sail off. On the ship, Iroh visits Aang in his cell. The two of them actually have a pretty honest conversation about why the war started, and weirdly enough, Iroh doesn't really disagree with anything Aang says. He just tells him that for most people, it doesn't matter how it started anymore. What matters is how it ends, and capturing the Avatar is how the Fire Nation believes it ends. Iroh is too reasonable for this army, honestly. He leaves and Aang gets to work. He slips free using his airbending, grabs a book from Zuko's room, packed with information on past avatars, and launches himself off the ship before Zuko can stop him. Katara had already convinced Sokka they had to go get him, and Appa was their fastest shot. So, the two of them hop on and fly out to Zuko's ship. Aang launches himself off the deck and links up with them mid-air. Zuko fires back, but Katara kills the flame mid-air, and just like that, they escape. Katara and Sokka point out that they can't go back to Wolf Cove now. Zuko knows where it is, and returning puts everyone in danger. So, they head to the Southern Air Temple instead. When Aang sees what's left of it, he breaks. He finds Gyatso's remains, and his markings go full blue again. That same uncontrolled surge from the ocean. But the memory of Gyatso pulls him back. Standing in the ruins of his home, Aang makes a promise. The people of this temple gave everything. He's not going to let that be for nothing. He's going to master all 4 elements and bring balance back to the world. Our boy just found his true purpose. Things are starting to heat up in episode 2. Aang has been going through the notebook he grabbed from Zuko's room, and inside he finds information about Kyoshi Island, home of one of his past lives as the Avatar. He decides that's their next stop. Maybe learning more about a past Avatar will help him figure out his whole Avatar state situation. More on that later though. So Aang, Katara, and Sokka hop on Appa and head out. On the way there, a flying lemur tags along and Aang immediately adopts him. He names him Momo. Sokka is not thrilled. The moment they land on Kyoshi Island though, things start going sideways. A group of elite warriors ambushes them out of nowhere and takes them down fast. These are the Kyoshi warriors, non-benders who are trained to fight at the highest level, named after the Avatar herself. One of them, a sharp and confident young warrior named Suki, steps up and convinces the island's leader to give the group 48 hours before making any decisions about them. That's when the statue of Kyoshi lights up in Aang's presence, basically confirming to everyone that he's the real deal, and so they let the gang go. Meanwhile, Zuko is furious about losing both Aang and his notebook. Iroh pulls him aside and suggests a smarter move. Instead of chasing blindly, they should pay a visit to the nearby Fire Navy commander, named Zhao, who keeps a detailed report on disturbances across the region. The plan is to get information on Aang's location without tipping Zhao off that they already had the Avatar and lost him. It almost works, but one of Zuko's crew members slips up and tells Zhao's lieutenant the truth. Zhao, who's been getting reports of a flying cow near Kyoshi Island, island, puts it all together, and sets sail immediately. Zuko realizes what's happened and races after him. Back on the island, the gang starts to settle in. Katara pulls out a water-bending scroll that Gran packed for her and heads to a nearby river to practice. She offers to teach Aang too, but he's not ready for that. Training brings up too many memories of Gyatso. Instead, Aang digs into everything he can find out about Kyoshi, trying to understand her. Katara eventually points out that Kyoshi isn't just a historical figure to Aang. She's one of his past lives. He can actually talk to her. So Aang goes to the statue, enters the Avatar state, and suddenly he's face to face with Avatar Kyoshi herself. She tells him the Avatar state lets him access the power and knowledge of every Avatar that came before him, but he has to earn it. He needs to master all 4 elements first. She also shows him a vision of the Northern Water Tribe under attack by the Fire Nation, a warning of what's coming if he doesn't move fast enough. While all of this is happening, Sokka has been getting humbled on the training ground. Suki spots him practicing with his boomerang and offers to show him a thing or two. He's skeptical at first because she's a non-bender, and so is he, but Suki makes it clear that non-benders have to fight smarter, not harder. They have to fight from the heart. Sokka listens, they train together, and somewhere between all of this, the two of them get pretty close. They're about to share a moment when the warning bell rings across the island. The Fire Nation has arrived. Zhao's forces hit the village hard. The Kyoshi warriors engage as soldiers, while Zuko makes straight for the shrine to get Aang. Katara tries to hold Zuko off using the moves she just learned from the scroll, but Zuko is too experienced and wins the fight. He's about to finish her off when Aang comes through, fully transformed into Kyoshi herself.
Impossible.
Zuko stops cold. Kyoshi then turns away from him and heads straight for Zhao's soldiers. They don't stand a chance. The Fire Nation retreats and the village is safe. With the dust settled, the village thanks the gang and sends them off warmly. Sokka pulls Suki aside before they leave, and the two of them share their first kiss. She hands him a steel folding fan, a signature weapon of the Kyoshi warriors. Sokka is keeping that forever. Up on Appa, Aang tells the group what Kyoshi showed him. The Northern Water Tribe is in danger, and that's where they're headed next. Back on his ship, Zhao isn't done. He sends a letter directly to Fire Lord Ozai, the current ruler of the Fire Nation, informing him that the Avatar has returned. Things just got a whole lot more complicated. Things go dark pretty fast in Episode 3, and OMASHU is just the beginning of it. We open in the Fire Nation Palace, where a group of rebels has somehow made it all the way to the throne room to assassinate Fire Lord Ozai. The woman who helped them get inside reveals herself to be Azula, Ozai's own daughter and the Fire Nation princess. It was a setup the whole time. Ozai wipes out the ground without breaking a sweat, then pulls Azula aside. He shows her Zhao's letter confirming that Zuko found the Avatar. Azula doesn't take that well at all. If Zuko comes home successful, her shot at the throne gets a lot more complicated. She's already plotting. Meanwhile, Aang spots what looks like another airbender gliding near the Earth Kingdom city of OMASHU. He has to investigate. The group sneaks into the city with the help of a turnip farmer who smuggles them inside. Turns out the airbender is actually a kid named Tio, who flies using a mechanical glider. Right as they meet, an explosion goes off nearby. That's when Tio's father, Sai, also known as the Mechanist, the guy responsible for all the city's technology development, rushes to pull Tio away from the chaos. The gang follows them back to his place. Tio tells them the Fire Nation spies have been planting bombs across the city, and his dad has been trying to figure out who's behind it. Meanwhile, Zhao pulls Zoku and Iroh aside and tells them that an airbender was spotted near OMASHU. He offers to join them in capturing the Avatar, but Zuko shuts that down fast. Only he and Iroh are going. Zhao lets them walk, then almost immediately receives a message from Azula offering to help him capture the Avatar from a distance. Those two are going to be a problem. Back in OMASHU, Katara spots Sai secretly handing designs over to a firebender. Before she can confront him, a boy steps out of the shadows and stops her. He introduces himself as Jet, the same guy who smuggled them into OMASHU. He happens to be a freedom fighter who's been working against the Fire Nation spies in the city. He tells Katara that Sai is one of them. Right then and there, they go after Sai's Fire Nation contacts together, taking them on in the streets before the dust even settles. Only after the fight does Jet bring Katara back to his crew treehouse hideout, where she properly meets his team. The brawler Pipsqueak, the silent archer Longshot, the knife expert Smellerbee, and the reckless the Duke. Jet opens up about losing his family to the Fire Nation when he was 8 years old. Katara can relate, having lost her own mother the same way. Jet tells her to stop focusing on how her mother died and start remembering who she was before that. Something clicks and Katara finally nails a water-bending move she'd been struggling with the whole time, the Water Whip. Grief hits different when it becomes fuel. At the same time, Aang and Tio have been gliding up to the cave at the top of the mountains, where they can find blasting jelly and some rope that belongs to the turnip farmer who snuck them into the city. Aang puts it together fast. The turnip farmer is Jet, and Jet is behind the bombings. So now that the gang is split on who the real threat is, Aang is convinced it's Jet. Katara is convinced it's Sai. Nobody can agree, and so Katara storms off to find Jet herself, and Jet doesn't deny it. He admits he's behind the bombings and tells her his next move is taking out the king using a bomb he already planted and switched with one of Sai's cases. Katara races back and tells the others. Aang, Katara, and Sokka take off to stop him, but Zuko shows up and goes straight for Aang. Sokka and Katara split off and use OMASHU's massive delivery slide system to get to the palace fast. Up top, Longshot lines up a flaming arrow to detonate the bomb and take out the king. Katara pulls out the water whip and puts the arrows out midair before it hits. Sai, Tio, and the king are safe. Back with Aang and Zuko, the two are going at it. Zuko is holding back from using firebending so he doesn't blow his cover in an Earth Kingdom city. That restraint keeps the fight even. Then Aang lets it slip that he read Zuko's notebook. Zuko loses it and starts firebending, blowing his cover completely and sending civilians running.
You have my notebook!
Earth Kingdom guards show up and close in. Iroh steps forward and openly firebends, drawing the guards' attention so Zuko can slip out of the city undetected. It works, but Aang isn't so lucky. The Earth Kingdom soldiers capture him. Episode 4 lives up to its name. Into the Dark starts with Aang captured and somehow gets more complicated from there. Aang is sitting in an OMASHU dungeon cell right now next to Iroh, of all people. The two of them end up talking, and Iroh tells Aang that he and Zuko are more than their reputation. It's a surprisingly honest conversation given the circumstances. Before long, the guards split them up. Iroh gets hauled off towards a place called the Pit, a brutal Earth Kingdom labor camp for prisoners of war, while Aang gets taken to meet the king. That king turns out to be Bumi, a wild-haired, eccentric old man who is also somehow Aang's childhood best friend. The guy is about 110 years old at this point and has lost none of his personality. He throws Aang a feast, but it becomes clear pretty fast that Bumi is not just happy to see him, he's angry. Aang vanished for 100 years while the world burned, and Bumi has had a long time to sit with that. So instead of a reunion, Bumi puts Aang through a series of traps and ridiculous challenges, pushing him to think outside the box while also reminding him of everything he missed. Tough love from an 110-year-old hits different. Sokka and Tio confront Sai about feeding secrets to the Fire Nation. Sai doesn't deny it, but he explains he was doing it to protect OMASHU, to keep his son safe, and buying time the only way he knew how. It doesn't go over great, but Sokka tells him that if he wants to make it right, he should give up the Fire Nation spies to the Earth Kingdom soldiers. Later that night, Katara runs into Jet again. He tries to apologize and explain himself, telling her his intentions were never to hurt anyone innocent. Katara is not trying to hear it. As far as she's concerned, he lied to her and he almost got people killed. She turns to walk away, and that's when Jet steps in front of her to stop her from leaving. That sets it off. The two of them fight, and Jet is fast and scrappy, but Katara has been putting in work with that scroll. She holds her own and ends the whole thing by freezing him to a pole, properly this time. Stay down, Jet. With Aang captured, Katara and Sokka decide they're going after him. Tio tells them about the secret tunnels running underneath the city that lead straight to the palace. It's a dangerous idea, but it's their best shot. Inside the tunnels, they run into a group of wandering minstrels who stop them and tell them the story of how the tunnels were built. Two lovers named Oma and Shu, each from villages at war with each other, studied the movements of the badger moles, large blind creatures that live underground to master earthbending. They built the tunnels to meet each other in secret. When Oma was killed in an attack, Shu used her earthbending to end the war and build the city of OMASHU in her honor. The tunnels are still very much alive, though, and so is the creature inside. Sokka and Katara head in, but their constant bickering wakes it up, and it comes charging at them through the dark. They run for their lives until they stop, look at each other, and just let it go. The moment the genuine love between them takes over, the creature calms down completely and ends up leading them straight to the palace. On the road to the pit, the captain escorting Iroh lays into him about his past. Iroh, as a Fire Nation general, once laid siege to the Earth Kingdom capital, Ba Sing Se, for 600 straight days. The captain tells him he knows nothing about loss. That triggers a flashback. Iroh's son, Lu-ten, died in that very battle, and it was Zuko who showed up to console him at the funeral. That loss is part of why Iroh joined Zuko on his mission in the first place. Zuko reminded him of his son. Back in the present, Iroh quietly drops a White Lotus Pai Sho tile on the ground. It's a tile from a strategy board game, which he drops as a signal. Zuko, who snuck into the city disguised as an Earth Kingdom soldier, finds the tile and tracks the convoy down. He frees Iroh, but Iroh suffers an injury in the escape. The two of them grab a boat and make for their ship. Back in the palace, Bumi finally drops the games and gets to the point. He tells Aang that everything he put him through was his way of showing him that what it feels like to make impossible decisions alone. Then he challenges Aang to fight to the death. Aang doesn't really have a choice. The two of them go at it, and Bumi is no joke. He's 110 years old, but his earthbending is something else entirely. Aang can't match him blow for blow, so he does what he does best. He keeps moving, dodging, and using his airbending to stay out of reach. But Bumi keeps coming, and Aang keeps evading, and neither of them can finish it. That's when Katara and Sokka burst in. Aang looks at Bumi and tells him straight, it's only by relying on friends that he's going to be able to save the world. Then he pulls out the bison whistle Bumi made for him as a kid, the one he's carried all this time. That gets through. Bumi smiles, and just like that, the old friendship is back. Bumi is ready to rejoin the fight against the Fire Nation, and Sai, having taken Sokka's advice, gives up the Fire Nation spies to the Earth Kingdom. OMASHU can finally start preparing for what's coming. Aang, Katara, and Sokka head out on Appa. Zuko spots them flying overhead, but he's got a hurt Iroh to deal with, so he lets them go. Episode 5 takes things somewhere nobody was prepared for, and we mean that literally. Aang, Katara, and Sokka are making their way towards the Northern Water Tribe when they fly over a stretch of forest that stops them cold. The whole thing is charred, burned to nothing. They land to get a closer look, and it's pretty clear the Fire Nation did this, not as an act of war, but just to clear a path up the mountain. Aang takes it personally. Every bit of destruction he sees weighs on him because he feels like he should have been there to stop it. Spreading yourself across a whole world's worth of problems will do that to you. That's when Sokka spots a little girl hiding behind a tree at the edge of the forest. He tries to talk to her to calm her down, and she bolts, dropping her doll as she runs. The three of them chase her and end up running straight into her village. Her father's suspicious at first, but quickly realizes the group isn't a threat. He explains that the Fire Nation's burn cleared a path through the forest, but ever since the fire, the land itself has been dying. Crops are failing, animals are disappearing, and the whole area is just sick. A few days ago, a group from the village went out looking for food and never came back, including the little girl's brother, Shi-Yong. Aang tells them that he thinks he knows where they are. He's going to get them back. Back in the Fire Nation, Azula goes to her father singing his praises, trying to get him more resources for finding the Avatar. Ozai agrees to reward Zhao, but stops Azula before she walks away. He tells her Zuko was the one who actually found the Avatar first, and he did it with honor instead of manipulation and flattery. That hits Azula hard. She channels the frustration into action, gifting Zhao a unit of elite non-bender archers called the Yuyan Archers, some of the most precise archers in the world. Zhao gets promoted from commander to admiral. Azula just armed the wrong person out of spite. Back with Aang, Katara, and Sokka, they've pushed deeper into the charred forest trying to figure out their next move. Aang starts explaining to them that the world they live in isn't the only one. There's also the spirit world, a separate realm that exists alongside their own, like a soul alongside a body. Normally, the two worlds stay separate, but some places have a barrier thin enough to feel. Aang can sense that this forest is one of those places, and the fire weakened it even further. As the Avatar, he's the bridge between the two worlds, which means he should be able to cross over, find the missing villagers, and bring them back. He finds a clearing deep in the forest filled with charred wooden statues of different animals, sits down in front of a massive bear statue, and starts focusing. The moment Aang taps into the spirit world, he accidentally drags Katara and Sokka with him. And that's a problem. They're not supposed to be there. Meanwhile, Zuko and Iroh have been chasing down reports of waterbending activity, but every lead has gone nowhere. Zuko is frustrated and even more rattled when he finds out at a local tavern that the word is already spread about the Avatar returning. He knows what that means. He's not the only one hunting anymore. Right on cue, a bounty hunter walks into the same tavern. Her name is June, and she's sharp, confident, and very good at her job. Zuko wants nothing to do with her. Iroh, who can actually see what's right in front of him, slips away and hires her anyway. June travels with a creature called a Shirshu, a giant tracking animal that can hunt anyone down by scent alone. Iroh pulls Zuko aside and tells him straight, Commander Zhao is already making moves against them, and they can't afford to be picky about who helps them right now. Zuko grumbles, but he's stuck with her. Back in the forest, a towering owl spirit appears in the path in front of him. He's so massive he blocks out the sky. His name is Wan Shi Tong, the spirit of knowledge itself. Only Aang can hear him speak. Wan Shi Tong warns Aang that Katara and Sokka are in serious danger here and tells them to stay on the path no matter what. Other spirits in this world won't be as welcoming as he is. They don't stay on the path for long. A massive vengeful spirit comes crashing through the trees and attacks them. This is Heibai, the spirit of the burned forest, and he is furious. The attack sends all three of them flying on a path into their own separate places. Sokka lands in front of the three-tailed fox spirit, who sits down and has a calm little conversation with him. She tells him the monster that attacked them isn't evil, just in pain, and asks if Sokka knows what it feels like. Before he can answer properly, she's gone, but Sokka notices a bracelet-like marking on one of her tails that looks familiar. Katara is wandering the spirit world looking for the others when something pulls her into a memory. She's back at Wolf Cove the day the Southern Raiders came. She watches her mother, Kaya, walk towards the house and try to stop her, but can't. Young Katara hides and watches a Fire Nation soldier named Yan Ra interrogate Kaya, demanding to know who the last waterbender in the Southern Water Tribe is. Young Katara panics and tries to use her waterbending to protect her mother, but it doesn't work. So Kaya makes the call herself. She tells Yan Ra she's the one he's looking for, and right in front of Katara, her mother is killed. No wonder she never talks about it. Sokka is still wandering too, and the same thing happens to him. The memory hits, and he's back on the day of his ice dodging trails. His father and grandfather are there, congratulating him. It looks like a proud moment. But then he overhears a conversation between his father and grandfather that changes everything. His father admits he only passed Sokka because he is his son. The doubt in his father's voice hits him like a rock. Both Sokka and Katara are then yanked out of their memories by a spirit with a China doll-like face, pale and unsettling. This is Ko's work. A face-stealing spirit who is physically a giant centipede with a shifting human face. One of the most dangerous entities in the spirit world. He's been pulling them deeper into this fog the whole time, and now both of them are trapped in it. Their souls, his to feed on if Aang can't get to them in time. Aang has his own encounter before his memory hits. He runs into the same Ko. Aang keeps his expression completely blank because Ko feeds on emotion. Any flicker of fear and it's over.
What have we here? Someone who can resist? That can't be possible.
Ko tells him that a previous avatar already tried to defeat him and failed, and that he's been collecting Aang's friends along with the missing villagers, trapping them in his fog. Aang keeps his cool long enough to slip away and follow the path the owl mentioned earlier, which leads him to a small hut deep in the spirit world. And inside that hut is Gyatso. Aang can't believe it at first. He thinks it's another trick, but Gyatso tells him it's really him. When the air nomads died, most of them moved on in the Great Cycle, but Gyatso chose to stay because he knew Aang would need him. The two of them sit down and Gyatso tells him everything about Ko. He's been there a long time and he's taken on avatars before. The only way to get real information on how to defeat Ko is to go to Avatar Roku, one of Aang's past lives whose temple sits on the Fire Nation side of the world. Before Aang leaves, Gyatso stops him and says what Aang has needed to hear since episode 1. If he had stayed at the Air Temple, he would have died too. There was nothing he could have done. It wasn't his fault. Aang hugs him, steps back into the real world, and pulls out Zuko's notebook. Roku's temple is in there somewhere. He grabs his glider and heads off alone, leaving Appa and Momo behind. He's not risking them on this one. There's a reason Zuko is the way he is. Episode 6 shows you exactly what that is. We open 3 years in the past. A younger, unscarred Zuko is practically buzzing with excitement walking into his first ever War Council meeting alongside his father. He's finally being included. That excitement doesn't last long though. Inside the meeting, a general lays out a plan to sacrifice an entire unit of new recruits, the 41st Division, as a distraction to win a battle. Everyone in the room nods along. Zuko doesn't. He speaks up and calls the plan what it is, a waste of lives. That outburst embarrasses Ozai in front of his generals, and Ozai's response is immediate. Zuko will settle this through an Agni Kai, a Fire Nation tradition where two fighters duel until one is burned. Zuko agrees, thinking he'll be facing the general he embarrassed. The next morning, he walks out to find his father standing across from him instead. Uh-oh. They fight. Zuko gets the upper hand at one point and has a clear shot at his father. He doesn't take it. Ozai takes that hesitation as weakness and ends the fight decisively, burning Zuko's left eye and leaving the scar that defines him. While Zuko is still healing, Ozai comes to see him. He tells Zuko that what separates the Fire Nation from everyone else is their willingness to sacrifice the weak. Zuko pushes back, saying that just means denying the weak the chance to get stronger. Ozai has heard enough. He tells Zuko that compassion is a sign of weakness and banishes him from the Fire Nation until he returns with the Avatar. As Zuko leaves, Ozai tells him to take the 41st Division with him as his crew. The soldiers he just defended are now his to command. Ozai really does think of everything. Back in the present, the newly promoted Admiral Zhao has taken command of Zuko's ship and his crew, and the crew is not exactly heartbroken about it. Lieutenant G, who was never hidden how much he resents Zuko, makes that very clear to Iroh. Iroh listens and doesn't argue. He just quietly tells G that there's a lot about Zuko he doesn't know. Meanwhile, Aang has made it to Crescent Island and the temple of Avatar Roku. The fire sages who are supposed to serve and protect the Avatar Shrine have long since switched their loyalty to the Fire Lord instead, so the moment Aang shows up, they come at him. Luckily, one sage, a quiet, humble man named Shu, hasn't forgotten what his job actually is. He holds the others off long enough for Aang to get inside the shrine and make contact with Roku. Roku tells Aang about the statue he needs to bring back to Ko. It originally belonged to Ko's mother, the Mother of Faces, the spirit behind identity itself, which explains why a face-stealing creature would be so desperate to get it back. Roku tells Aang to trade the statue for his friends' lives. Before Aang leaves, Roku gives him one more piece of advice. Don't rely on his friends too much. Aang files that away and heads out, only to find the fire sages unconscious on the floor. Jun's Shirshu has tracked him down and quickly knocks him out cold. Aang wakes up in Zuko's custody, and he tells Zuko straight up that Katara and Sokka are trapped in the spirit world, and he needs that statue to get them back. Zuko doesn't budge. Then Zhao shows up and takes Aang off Zuko's hands entirely, locking him up at Pohuai Stronghold. Zuko is furious, but there's nothing he can do, at least not as himself. That night, a masked figure slips into the stronghold. All black outfit, blue mask, 2 swords. This is the Blue Spirit, and whoever this is moves like they've done this before. The Blue Spirit cuts Aang free, and the two of them fight their way towards the gate. Zhao needs Aang alive, so when the Blue Spirit holds a blade to Aang's throat and threatens to kill him, Zhao is forced to open the gate and let him through. They're almost in the clear when an archer lands a shot that shatters the mask.
Take him out.
It's Zuko. Aang recovers fast enough to get them both out before Zhao can react. The two of them hide inside a barn while Zuko recovers. Aang tries his best to connect with him, and for a moment it actually seems to be working. Then Aang mentions that Zuko seems compassionate. The word hits Zuko like a slap across the face. His father's voice comes back immediately. Compassion is a sign of weakness. Zuko attacks. Aang defends himself and knocks Zuko out with a burst of airbending, then carries him back to his boat. Standing on the shore before leaving, Aang asks Zuko quietly if they could have been friends in a different life. Zuko's answer is to launch a fireball the second he's conscious. Aang pushes the boat away and goes. He tried. Back on the ship, Iroh pulls G aside and finally tells him the full story of Zuko's scar, the 41st Division, the unit that was going to be sacrificed in the War Council meeting 3 years ago. It's G's unit. Every single one of them is only alive because a 13-year-old prince spoke up and paid for it with his face. G goes quiet. When Zuko returns to the ship, the entire crew lines up and bows to him. Aang heads back to the spirit world with the statue and trades it to Ko for Katara, Sokka, and the missing villagers. Everyone gets home safe, but when Aang goes back to find Gyatso at the hut, it's empty. Gyatso is gone. Back on the ship, Iroh finds the blue spirit mask in Zuko's room and looks over at his nephew sleeping. Then he quietly puts it away. Some things are better left unsaid. We open episode 7 with Zuko's life on the line. Lieutenant G comes rushing into Zuko's quarters with urgent news. He overheard from a drunk Lieutenant Dang that Fire Lord Ozai is coming to have Zuko arrested for treason. Iroh tells Zuko to get into a lifeboat and go while he handles things on the ship. Zuko climbs in and pushes off, but almost immediately spots blasting jelly rigged all over the boat. He jumps into the water just before it explodes. This wasn't G's doing. G genuinely heard what he heard. It was Zhao who planted the story, knowing G would run straight to Zuko with it. Zhao watches the explosion from a distance, a plan well done. Aang, Katara, and Sokka arrive at Agna Kela, the capital city of the Northern Water Tribe, and the welcome they get is massive. The whole tribe has been waiting for the Avatar. Chief Arnook, the leader of the tribe, greets him warmly. So does the tribe's senior waterbending master, Paku, though he's significantly less warm. And then there's Princess Yue, Arnook's daughter, and the tribe's spiritual leader, who stops Sokka dead in his tracks the second he sees her. He can't figure out why she looks so familiar. Arnook throws the group a feast to celebrate their arrival. Sokka keeps staring at Yue the whole time, trying to place her, until he finally just goes and talks to her. She's nothing like he expected. No attitude, no pretension, just genuinely warm and easy to talk to. The two of them bond over how much pressure they can carry and how rarely they get to just be normal. A guy named Han shows up at one point and is pretty clear there's some history there, but Yue doesn't linger on it. Later, Sokka finds out that Han and Yue are an arranged marriage that she called off without explanation. That door is wide open. Aang pulls away from the feast to go meet with Arnook and Paku properly. He tells them about the vision Kyoshi showed him, the Fire Nation attacking the north, and that he's here to stop it. Arnook tells him that their scouts already spotted a Fire Nation fleet headed their way. Then Paku asks Aang straight up what elements he can bend besides air. The answer is just air. Paku is not impressed. Neither is Arnook. Back in the Fire Nation, Azula has had it with her father's tests. She's been the best firebender in any room she's ever walked into. She's tired of proving it over and over and over again. She refuses to participate in one of Ozai's challenges, walks away, then conjures lightning right there in her hand and shoots it into the sky. That gets Ozai's attention. She tells him to stop testing her and set her loose in the world instead. Ozai smiles. That's never a good sign. Aang finds Yue and asks her to take him to the shrine of Avatar Kuruk, one of the reincarnations and the Avatar who came before Roku, a waterbender from the Northern Water Tribe itself. She leads him there, and while Aang settles into the Avatar state, Sokka shows up and the two of them start talking. Sokka asks her about the hair clip, and it clicks instantly. She was the fox from the spirit world. Yue explains that when she was born, she was so sick, she nearly died. Arnook pleaded with the spirits to save her, and the moon spirit answered. It gave part of its essence to keep her alive, which makes Yue part spirit. She can travel to the spirit world in her dreams. Sokka is processing all of this when she just kisses him, all while Aang is 3 feet away, deep in a spiritual conversation. Perfect timing, as always. That conversation with Avatar Kuruk doesn't go the way Aang hoped. He asks Kuruk to take over his body the way Kyoshi did on Kyoshi Island. Kuruk says he can't. After becoming the Avatar, he went to war against dark spirits trying to cross into the real world. And that war damaged him so badly it corrupted his ability to access the Avatar state. He can't channel through Aang safely. What he can do is repeat the same warning every Avatar is given. If Aang doesn't walk this path alone, the people he loves will pay for it. Kuruk himself lost the woman he loved to Ko because he couldn't protect her. He's not letting Aang make the same mistake. Zhao pulls Iroh aside not long after the explosion and offers him a position as his general for the upcoming siege on the Northern Water Tribe. Iroh listens to the battle plans and immediately sees the problem. What Zhao is describing is basically a suicide mission. The Northern Water Tribe is the last great waterbending stronghold in the world, and nobody has ever cracked it. Iroh tells him as much, but Zhao waves it off. He reaches into a wooden box marked with the waterbender symbol and tells Iroh he has something no previous commander ever had: destiny. Iroh looks at the box, looks at Zhao, and says nothing. The most dangerous people are always the ones who think the universe is rooting for them. What Zhao doesn't realize, though, is that Zuko spotted the jelly in time, swam back to the ship, and slipped on board disguised as a regular soldier. Only Iroh knows he's alive. As Zhao's fleet closes in on the Northern Water Tribe, Iroh quietly pulls aside one of the masked soldiers. The mask comes off, and it's Zuko. He's been hiding in plain sight the whole time and has no plan yet. He just knows he's not done. Meanwhile, Katara goes to train with the tribe's waterbending teacher, Yagoda, who is warm and encouraging. Katara learns how to use waterbending to heal wounds, which is genuinely cool. But when she asks when they move on to combat, Yagoda tells her they don't. Women in the Northern Water Tribe don't fight. That's just the rule. Katara goes straight to Paku and challenges him on it. He refuses to budge, so Katara does the most Katara thing possible and challenges him to a duel. Paku wins, but it takes him actual effort The whole tribe watches, and they're stunned at how well she holds her own. Nobody can stop talking about it after. Paku walks away, still refusing to let her fight, but he's clearly thinking about it. After the duel, Aang wakes up to Katara and Sokka and tells them he doesn't want them fighting in the upcoming battle. He's worried about losing them. Katara and Sokka look at him and tell him, clearly, that how he lives as the Avatar is his choice, but how they choose to fight is theirs. They didn't come all this way to sit on the sidelines. They're family. That's what family does. And honestly, Aang knows they're right. Then ash starts falling from the sky. The Fire Nation is here.
Okay. Time to fight.
The Battle of the Northern Water Tribe kicks off in the season finale with Team Avatar going on the offensive. Aang, Katara, and Sokka ambush the Fire Nation ship and take out the soldiers on board. But when they fly out on Appa to scope out the full armada, they realize fast that they massively underestimated the size of the fleet. They report back to Arnook. The armada is maybe an hour out. It shows up sooner than that. The Fire Nation starts hammering the ice wall protecting the city, and every waterbender grabs a weapon. That's when Katara marches up to Paku and tells him straight, "Put your pride aside, you need every fighter you can get right now." Paku looks over and sees 30 women standing there ready to defend their home. His own wife steps up and tells him to stop being so focused on the past, that he costs them a future. That's when the moment finally clicks. Paku not only gives Katara the green light, he sends young soldiers to serve under her command. Took long enough. Meanwhile, Arnook pulls Sokka aside and gives him one job: protect Yue. Sokka swears he won't leave her side. As for Zhao, he has a plan that goes way beyond breaking down a wall. He knows that tonight is the Ice Moon, a rare cosmic event where the barrier between the physical world and the spirit world grows thin. On this night, the Moon Spirit and the Ocean Spirit leave the spirit world and take physical form in the human world. Zhao has Avatar Kuruk's knife, the one he found at Roku's temple, and he plans to use it to kill the Moon Spirit. No moon means no waterbending. He tells Iroh his plan, and Iroh is horrified. There are lines even Iroh won't cross, and this is one of them. He begs Zhao to stop, but Zhao wasn't listening. He wants to be known as Zhao the Moonslayer. Some people really do let power rot their brains. During the battle, Momo gets badly hurt, saving a child from a falling rock. Yue immediately takes Sokka and Momo to the most sacred place in the north, the Spirit Oasis, a serene grove with a small pond that sits at the heart of the city. It's the same place Arnook brought Yue as a dying infant and prayed to the Moon Spirit to save her. Yue places Momo in the water and he comes back. Sokka is so relieved he basically tells Momo he loves him. Sokka will deny it if you ask, though. The moment of relief doesn't last long, though. Zhao, Iroh, and a small group of firebenders arrive at the Spirit Oasis using the Fire Nation airship. They've been looking for the spirits. Back at the battle, Avatar Kuruk's spirit appears to Aang and warns him that his knife is close. He tells Aang that the moon and the ocean spirits are in danger. Aang grabs Katara and they race towards the Spirit Oasis. But Zuko cuts them off. He's been hiding inside the city this whole time, waiting for this moment. Aang tells Katara to hold off Zuko and goes ahead alone. Katara squares up, the two of them go at it hard, and after all that training Katara has put in, she's not making it easy for Zuko. At the Spirit Oasis, Sokka and Yue watch from the shadows as Zhao finds what he's been looking for. 2 koi fish swimming in a circle in the pond, one black with a white dot, and one white with a black dot. Yin and Yang, moon and ocean. Iroh steps forward one last time and pleads with Zhao to not do this. Aang arrives and tries to reason with him too. Zhao reaches into the pond, pulls the white fish out, and kills it. The moon flashes red. Every waterbender in the city drops to their knees. The Fire Nation breaches the wall. Iroh has seen enough. He turns on Zhao's guards and takes them all out with firebending, forcing Zhao to flee. Inside the oasis, Aang looks at the pond and makes a decision. He walks into the water and lets the ocean spirit take him. What comes out of that water isn't Aang anymore. It's a towering water creature, something between a god and a disaster, and it walks straight into the battle. Fire Nation ships get thrown aside like toys. Soldiers scatter, the creature tears through everything in its path, but it's not going to stop. Without the moon spirit, the ocean spirit has nothing to return to, and it will keep destroying until there's nothing left. Meanwhile, Zuko has tracked down Zhao in the chaos, and the two of them fight. Zuko wins. Zhao is on the ground, and he uses his last breath to twist the knife. He tells Zuko that Azula knew he was the blue spirit the whole time. She helped design the plot to kill him, and the mission to capture the Avatar was never real. It was Ozai's way of pushing Azula to be better, using Zuko as motivation. The heir was always going to be Azula. Zuko was just a pawn. That truth hits Zuko like a wall. He raises his hand to finish Zhao and then stops. As he walks away, Zhao tries to attack him from behind, and Iroh puts a fireball right through him. Zhao hits the water, Zuko and Iroh walk out together. Back at the Spirit Oasis, Yue looks at the pond and understands what has to happen. Part of the Moon Spirit has lived inside her since she was a baby. She's the only one who can bring it back. Sokka grabs her and tells her no. Yue kisses him, freezes his feet to the ground so he can't follow her, and she steps into the water. At the same time, Katara sees the water creature still rampaging through the city and runs towards it, calling out to Aang. She tells him he wasn't supposed to die 100 years ago, and he's certainly not supposed to die now. The world needs him. She needs him. He's family. Both things happen at once. Yue gives up her life and becomes the new Moon Spirit just as Katara's words pull Aang back. The moon returns to the sky. Every waterbender gets their power back, the ocean spirit retreats into the water, the Fire Nation retreats from the city. In the aftermath, Pakku asks Katara to stay and train the next generation of waterbenders as a master. She turns him down, and she tells him she's going to teach Aang waterbending herself, and Pakku says there's nobody better for it. When Katara and Sokka find Aang, he's sitting in the rubble blaming himself for it all. The destruction, the lives lost, Yue. They sit with him and remind him that none of this started with him and none of it is his fault. So's words come back to him. Let go of the past or you'll never have a future. Aang gets up. He's ready to move forward. Katara tells him they're heading back to OMASHU to start his earthbending training. But the season doesn't end there. Back in the Fire Nation, Ozai gets the news about the Northern Water Tribe and doesn't flinch. The North was never the real target. While everyone, including the Avatar, was tied up at that battle, Azula took a small army straight to OMASHU. She walks in and stands over the chained King Bumi and looks around at everything she's just taken and asks what's next. And if that wasn't enough, a monk comes to Ozai with one more piece of news. Sozin's comet is returning, the same comet that supercharged the Firebenders the night the Air Nomads were wiped out. Ozai smiles. Season 2 can't come soon enough. And that is the story of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender so far. Aang has a long road ahead. The Fire Nation isn't slowing down, and Season 2 drops June 25th, 2026. Feel free to click the link on the screen to watch another one of the videos. And make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all those other awesome things you people do, and I'll see you next time.